Hey guys, welcome back. I hope you had a really great weekend. So, we are heading into a big earnings week. We have Tesla, Apple, Google, Meta, XOM. We have 20% of the S&P reporting this week and 15% of the Nasdaq. And right now, futures are down significantly. ES is down 0.92%. NQ is down 1.86%. And let's go over what happened last week before we head into tomorrow's trading ranges. So last week we started right here on Tuesday. It was the day after Martin Luther King Day, and we started above the 50-day moving average. And we did open with a small gap up and then pushed up into Netflix earnings. And after Netflix earnings, we got above this previous resistance level right here. We gapped up, we closed out this last bear gap before all-time highs, and then we pushed up to make new all-time highs. So on Friday, we did open making those new all-time highs, and then if you were looking down below right here, we did have a red signal line. We were unable to get above that red signal line, and we pulled back to the 35 EMA with a small bounce on that 35 EMA. And if we get in a little bit closer, you can see that on Friday, we did take it all the way down to the bottom of the implied move, which was 606. And then we bounced on the only level in our trading range, which was the 35 EMA. So we did manage to stay within the implied move on Friday. SPX, same thing over here. We opened the week with a gap up after MLK and the inauguration. Then we pushed up into Netflix earnings, took it to all-time highs. We did initially see that as a resistance, and then we pushed up, made new all-time highs on Friday. Looking down below, we did have this red signal line that we did see resistance at, and then we pulled back down to the 35 EMA, and we did stay within the trading range, within the implied move, and we did bounce slightly there at the end of the day, right on the 35 EMA. So new all-time highs here for the S&P 500, and SPY on Friday did close down 0.29%. SPX also down 0.29%, and VIX also down 1.26%. Right now, ES futures are down 0.89%, so measured out, let's take a look at where that possibly could take us in the morning. So down 0.89% is just underneath this up gap from after Netflix earnings. All right, and then QQQ, we did open the week. Where did we open the week? I didn't mark it. We opened the week right here, Tuesday. And at that point on Tuesday, we were still looking at this downtrend right here as resistance. We did manage to get above that. We also had a green signal line, but this was heading into Netflix earnings. Then we gapped up above this down gap right here. And then we did see that level as a support here at first, and then we popped up twice and then brought it back down, completely filling this down gap. So this was an island gap right here, and the red gap, the bear gap, was closed out, which we still have the rest of this up gap right here. And taking a look at NQ futures, they are down 1.88%. That is a huge overnight move, and that negative 1.88% would take us pretty much to the 50-day moving average. And even though we closed out this bear gap right here, a gap down would give us another island gap, and it would take us back to the 50-day moving average and underneath the 1 hour 200 moving average. So huge overnight move here. QQQ did close down last Friday, 0.57%. You could see that right where we closed this down gap, that was also the bottom of the implied move at 259. And to the penny, we did bounce right there to close within the implied move and underneath the 35 EMA for the first time since back here. And it was a huge run since that gap up above the 35 EMA, and we closed underneath the 35 EMA right here. VXN closed down 0.87%, and we did close within the implied move here. So Friday, I believe we closed within the implied move across the board. IWM, we opened the week right here. This was after MLK and the inauguration. We opened with a gap up and made a run for the 50-day moving average. And we did see that as resistance. We pulled back to the 35 EMA, 2 red candles. We bounced right here on the top of this up gap. We bounced right there. We made another attempt at the 50-day moving average, and we closed just underneath this 35 EMA. So 35 EMA has been support ever since we bounced here on the 200-day moving average. So we bounced on that 200-day moving average, got above the 35 EMA, and then it did hold support here, 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 and then we closed just underneath it on Friday. And you could see that we did close within the implied move on Friday. 227 was the bottom of the implied move. We did close 228.69. From the day before, if you had an iron butterfly on, that would have definitely been a good play since we did not take it out to the edges, and the middle is where the premium was at. IWM down 0.28% on Friday. RVX down 0.4%. Russell futures are down 0.7% right now. And on Friday, we did close within the implied move and underneath the 50-day moving average. Last week, we were not able to get above that 50-day moving average, and we did close underneath that 30-minute 35 EMA. So it looks like that 1 hour 200 moving average that I was mentioning last week was giving us a little pull downward. And then lastly, DIA. We did open DIA last week right here. So this was the previous Friday, and then we had MLK and the inauguration. It was a short week. We opened on Tuesday right here with a gap up above the 50-day moving average, and the Dow had a pretty decent week last week. We opened with that gap up above the 50-day moving average, pushed to the top of the implied move for the week pretty much right away, and then we pushed higher after Netflix earnings. So here, once we got above the 35 EMA, this was in the middle of the month here, and before PPI, before inflation data, before the inauguration, we got above this 35 EMA heading into all of that, and it has been a steady support for the past 2 weeks. Dow futures right now, I don't have them right here off to the side, but I have them on my computer, down 0.45%. So if we open anywhere near there tomorrow, we will be back underneath this 35 EMA, and that would give us some red candles again. And if you are using a longer time frame, red means sell, blue means buy. So if we start underneath this 35 EMA, we will have started I'm not going to say new downtrend, but we will have broken the 35 EMA as support. We are still bullish on this time frame, and if we get underneath that 35 EMA, that will be neutral bullish. We do also have a red signal line, and we did see that on Friday turn red, and that would support a pullback lower, at least 50-day moving average, but I honestly would be looking more towards this 30-minute 200 moving average. So DIA on Friday closed down 0.28%, and we did close within the implied move for Friday. We did not close within the implied move for the week. All right, so that was a recap of last week. We have a really busy earnings week this week, and I will be doing a lot of those expected moves for earnings out on TradingView, and I might do a few of them out on here too. And from what I'm seeing from futures right now, it is going to be an interesting week. All right, guys, so that was a recap of last week, and because futures are pretty much melting down right now, I am going to skip doing the expected move for tomorrow. until markets open and I see where VIX is taking this. I don't think it'll do much good to put that $3 expected move in SPY when futures are already taking it 1.5 times past that. So I'm going to wait till markets open and then get some trading ranges out for you guys out on TradingView. And it's going to be a crazy week, guys, so buckle up, have fun, trade safe, make sure you take profits when you're up, and I will see you guys really soon.